Spokane Valley could become a sanctuary city of a different
Councilman
kind.
Caleb Collier says that this
I'm proposing that the city of Spokane Valley issue a proclamation stating that our city is a Second Amendment sanctuary city.
Welcome to the fire.
Today on Church and State, we'll be doing part 2 of Medical Freedom Northwest event. On this episode, we'll be interviewing Robbie Raw and John Stockton. Hello, Christian Patriots, and welcome to Church and State, where we drive morality and religion over tolerance and apathy. And I'm your host, Caleb Collier, once again, your favorite far-right shock jock, and the show that talks about politics and religion. Jesus Christ is our referee, so it's always nice and clean. Head on over to churchandstate.media and check out all of our spectacular content. Ladies and gentlemen, this episode is going to be a lot of fun for you. Robbie Raw, an incredible nurse. And I got to tell you, you are going to be absolutely shocked. I know I was. This lady is almost 70 years old, and I thought she was my age. You'll see as soon as we play this episode. So you're going to want to share that. And John Stockton, bar none, the greatest point guard in basketball. It's a shame Gabe isn't with us anymore. He would have been geeking out on this one. But he is a absolute warrior for medical freedom. So you're going to want to share this with all of the people in your circle. Also, please peruse through some of our great affiliates as well. And also, as Chris was just showing you, hit that donate button because we are hitting it hard. Hitting it as hard as we possibly can. Bringing the message of truth and liberty. And of course, salvation through Jesus Christ. And if you want us to continue on the NRB TV network, we need your help. So there you are. Lastly, if you want to get a hold of us, Church and State 1776 at proton.me. All right, with that, we are going to bring you our second episode of the Medical Freedom Northwest event here in Spokane, Washington. And as I said, we will have John Stockton, Robbie Raw, and also a wonderful lady by the name of Jen Dillon. There you are, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy. Caleb Collier with Church and State.
I'm Pastor Brian Noble with FPIW and a co-host with you today.
It's always awesome to have you here. Hey, we are over at the Medical Freedom Northwest event. We are hoping to get a number of interviews with some of the best doctors in the MAHA movement. And I'm excited. We've already heard from Kelly Victory and Dr. Bowden.
It's going to be an exciting day of just getting information and getting it out there. Remember, just because COVID ended doesn't mean that we don't need medical freedom. They're coming after us still again.
Oh, 100%. I think we both know that this is going to be in the very near future. They're already seeing this year, Brian, what's the buzzword? It's measles, right?
That's right.
We're all terrified of measles. They haven't talked about that yet, but we're hoping to hear from that as well. So we'll be back with some amazing guests. Stay tuned.
God bless.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Church and State, and we are joined by another very special guest, Robbie Raw. I'm assuming probably a lot of you have been following this woman because she's like my spirit animal, I think. You know, you're aggressive, and I love that about you.
Thank you.
You're an RN. My wife's also an RN, and actually Brian's is as well. Or
Wow.
No. My wife's an X-ray technologist.
X-ray tech.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Same.
Yes, but you have. You've had a target on your back for quite some time.
Yes, yeah. Well, because I step out, in my faith. And of course, when the calling's great, the attack's greater.
Yeah, that's right.
Sometimes, but yeah. And I'm so grateful to be here at this conference, as one of the speakers. Just honored to be a part of, this lineup here. I'm so humbled by it, but I believe that God has brought me here for a reason, to glorify Him, of course, and to help us to have faith over fear.
That's right.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
I know she's speaking your language.
That's right.
there.
Exactly right. I oftentimes wonder how much of these decisions are just based in fear.
Right. 100%. My story is basically I started out as a nurse many years ago, and I worked in the hospitals for many years, and I just wanted to be what I call preventative nursing, on the other side of nursing, where I wanted to get to the root cause of why people were there. And I mean, that was 50 years ago when I first started getting into nursing. And so really, I kind of switched my whole thing and went into health and fitness. And then halfway through my career, my sister who had been pregnant for 2 years in a row had what doctors thought was a black milk duct, and it was actually stage 4 metastatic breast cancer.
Wow.
And my sister was given just a few weeks and months to live at the ripe old age of 42. We changed her diet. We helped manage her stress, and by God's incredible grace, of course, because we got down on our knees and prayed, she lived 10 years.
Wow.
And so that is why I do what I do today. So in the 40 years that I worked in the health and fitness industry and in nursing, basically I met people that were doing everything right in the gym,
Right.
but they were still sick and they were still tired and they were still fatigued. And what I realized, and God really placed this on my heart as an author when I was writing my book, The Raw Truth, 7 Truths to Health and Fitness, is there are 7 things that affect our health.
Wow.
And 7, of course, we know is very significant in the Bible. It means perfection and completion. So it wasn't a coincidence that God placed these 7 truths. So when I started talking to patients who basically, had sickness, they were walking around sick and thick and tired, but they were doing everything right in the gym, I started peeling the layers off of what was going on in their life, and I realized that they had a lack of faith. The first 7 truths was they didn't have any faith. They didn't have a belief system.
Can I just pause? That's
Yes.
fascinating
Yeah.
right there. That faith is the number one issue affecting people with their health.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I found. They had no belief system in the God who created the universe and everything in it. We believe in all these other things, but we don't believe in who created us.
Because when you don't have that position, you don't have a purpose, right? So purpose goes out the door, and so it's desperation. You're just an animal living to survive. That's powerful. Thank you for sharing.
Yes, and so this is going to be my talk today. Basically, is the 7 truths to health and fitness, which are faith, family,
Yep.
food, fitness, detox, sleep, and stress management.
Wow.
It's all vital to our health, but the first one is faith.
I love that.
And so, I'm so excited.
It's interesting because somebody might be listening to this and saying, "How did you come to that conclusion?" And I'm going to put words in Brian's mouth. Maybe they read the Bible.
That's right.
Knock.
Or
Did
look
you read
at
the
creation.
Bible?
I mean, the fact is, the Bible says that the creation displays the glory of God.
Right.
So just by looking at the Bible, you can say, well, there's got to be something out there. There's just so much, happenstance otherwise. And so I love that idea that we have a purpose by having faith. And of course, I would say faith in Jesus, but
100%. I mean, the Bible, the acronym, basic instructions before leaving Earth.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I love that, yeah.
And so the same power that rose Jesus from the grave, the same power that commanded it to wait,
Right.
lives in us. How awesome is that?
That's
I mean,
right.
If you don't have that, I don't know how you can make it through a minute of any day.
That's
in
right.
today's world.
That's right.
So you also bring up family, and
Yes.
this is an important one because I want to tie this in to stress management as well, and even perhaps detoxing. There are some people out there that have some very toxic family members.
Yes, yes.
And that could be kind of a hard thing to navigate, to where hey, I love you, but I can't really be around you. How would somebody approach that?
Yeah, well, I've experienced it myself.
I think we all have, by the way.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, God created, marriage, and of course, we have all of the instructions that we need in the Bible, but there is spiritual warfare going on at all times. And if we are plugged in to reading the Bible and reading God's Word
right.
every day, we are going to open that door and let the enemy in. And, that's the bottom line. I mean, we're commanded to love God, love one another.
That's right.
And keep the first thing first, which is God, spouse, kids, right? And not work first and not, kids first. It's God, spouse, kids.
And that's because he places us into the family of God. So this is what your biological family can be all messed up.
Right.
And there's a lot of messed up churches, don't get me wrong, but
Yes.
they can place you in the family of God. So finding that close friend or that person that you can interact with that's part of your family, even if it's not biological, really helps you begin to develop in those difficult relationships as well.
100%. Your family doesn't have to be your blood.
Right.
And so, really we do need to be, connected and heal relationships and have forgiveness as we were forgiven.
That's right.
And so, that unforgiveness eats away at us and affects our health.
Did you know that that's actually in the scriptures where it says that if we hold on to unforgiveness, that God turns us over to the torturer, and there's that spiritual attack that you're talking about, that bitterness. Because why? If we have been forgiven by God, then we're supposed to forgive much.
Right.
And I would just say, I'm hearing you say, is like, let it go. Let peace come in. Let joy come back in. And you may not be able to have a full-time relationship with that person because it's toxic, but you can have the peace of God as you go through.
Yeah, in the book of Isaiah, he talks about, any man who puts his hand to the plow and looks back is not fit for the kingdom.
Right.
So we need to look forward, right?
That's right.
And
Well, one of the things what you just said was really interesting to me. These are the things that you can take with you, all right? So like the old expression, you can't take it with you. If you're focusing on your relationship with God and your family and bringing them into a relationship with God, those are the things that you do take with you. You can't, you'll be, obviously when you die, you're going to be in the presence of God, whether you followed him or not. Whether you stay there, that's a little scary. But if you pursue that healthy relationship with your family, chances are you're going to be a catalyst to bringing them into a relationship with God.
Yes.
They're going to be in heaven with you.
yes, I mean, I'm so grateful to say that before my mother, my sister, and my father went home in the arms of Jesus, I got to, witness to them. And, really, I mean, I knew where they were going and I knew who they were with. And
That's right.
so, that's what we're here for, to be the light, to know God and let him be known.
And how does that tie into food? Faith, family, food.
I got it all together. It's all integrated. I mean, God gave us the food of the earth to fuel and feed our body, but we eat out of a box or a window and expect to have $1 million body and $1 million bill of health, and it doesn't work that way. So if we just look at what God has given us, we don't have to eat anything that has a label. He's given it to us.
That's so good.
I mean,
I think that's my problem. You just bust my bubble. I'm like, I can eat whatever I want because I got God and I got family.
I mean, that's why I have a DNR, honestly, because it's about quality of life. And as a nurse, you know that.
Yes.
I mean, I was an EMT for a number of years, and so watching people that were so desperate to cling to life, and they're literally on a ventilator, they're in massive amounts of pain, but they're still clinging to that life. Quality matters.
Right, exactly. I mean,
and when you think about life, you're talking life here versus eternal life.
Yes.
Yeah, keep going.
yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of times people will say to me, well, Robbie, you say that God knows the day and the hour. So why don't I just eat donuts all day long and not work out? And I say, this is true.
Sounds like a Baptist.
I say it's true. God does know the day and the hour, babe. You may live a long life and suffer.
Right.
And so, listen, if you don't care about you, what about the people that have to take care of you?
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly
care about them? So.
Amen.
Yeah.
And it keeps us from the divine purpose of God. The Bible is clear that He's written each one of our days in His book, but we still have free will. We can still make that very difficult for Him to operate into that and do those things because we're so unhealthy or we're so into ourselves, because it can happen both ways, right?
Right, 100%.
So we can be givers.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Sean's giving me the wrap it up. It looks like the event's about to start here again. I'm looking forward to listening to this presentation that you're going to give a little bit later. And I look forward, we've exchanged cards, so I look forward to having you on the show again for maybe a full half hour.
I would love that.
Excellent. Well, I love how passionate you are. I mean, it's palatable.
It is powerful.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So
how do they get a hold of you?
How do people follow you?
Yeah.
RobbieRaw.com.
RobbieRaw.com.
And that's RAUGH, ladies and gentlemen, by the way.
RobbieRaw.com.
There you go.
Raw truth.
There you go.
Raw truth.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on.
God bless you. Thanks.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with a man who should need no introduction. I'm talking about the legend, John Stockton. John, you were kind of thrust into this, but I'd love your opinion on this. Why is medical freedom so important, and censorship really as well?
Well, you asked a question that could go on forever.
Right.
Why is it important? I mean, first of all, you have no freedom if you don't have medical freedom.
There you go.
You have to be able to have the autonomy over your own body and what you put into your own body. I mean, as an athlete, it's crucial. What we eat, what we drink is crucial to us having the energy and the ability to recover, to be able to play, to be able to perform. So it's absolutely vital that we have that right to do with our bodies as we see fit. Having said that, censorship, not yet. The second part of your question, I didn't really understand it. I saw a Robert Kennedy article just in a national publication, and I tried to pass it on to my friends. Send. hey, what'd you think of the article? I didn't get it. Send. So we did this a number of times. What I had to do was take that article, print it, put it back in under another name, and send it. It went right through to everybody. And I thought, wow, I wasn't an activist at the time. I never spoke up against vaccines, a vaccine article. And to have that happen to me, my eyes start, and your eyes are open. Now you see it everywhere. You see the subtle comments by TV commentators, the news commentators, by articles in the newspaper, always preemptively starting any discussion with what they're trying to get across and jade your comments. It's something we have to be aware of, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you look at the censorship, what impact does that have, you think, on our culture, society, and maybe on you personally as well?
Well, everything seems to be coming back to the vaccines, and the COVID vaccines in particular. And when you don't get the word out about, the Pfizer report itself, the injuries that happened before the injuries, the deaths, they knew about this in the first 3 months before the shots even were rolled out, but they were all censored. Nobody knows this. You have to dig into it. Naomi Wolf she hired like 2,400 people to read through the 700 or 7,000 pages of the Pfizer documents to come up with that, plus the assault on reproduction. 80% of the women that took the shot during pregnancy lost their baby. Think about that number. Right. Not reported? How come? And so, when normal Americans, normal people don't get the information, it's impossible to make a good decision. And so that's why it's so important.
Let me ask you a question. I think I already know the answer to it, but I don't want to put words into your mouth. This is something that you didn't have to do. All right, you're a basketball star. You got a very good life, I'm assuming, and you decided to take an action that you knew was going to be very controversial. I want to throw these words out here. You can say if you agree or not, but would you take anything back?
Oh, heck no. No, in fact, I'm kicking myself more now for not speaking out earlier. I've been on this trail for 35 years. I've had children that have experienced damage from shots, if you will, and just the normal schedule shots. And my dad went into sepsis 3 days after the flu shot, 3 years in a row. So, you have to kick a horse a few times for us to understand. Right. But had I spoken out sooner, I have some friends right now who have children that have been damaged by vaccines irreparably. And I'm kicking myself now saying, boy, if I'd had the courage to step up 30 years ago when I started to learn this and started to investigate it on my own level, perhaps they wouldn't have to suffer that fate. So, no, I've never regretted stepping out. I get more comments from people about, hey, thank you for speaking out. We don't have a voice. Thank you for using yours. So, boy, I won't regret it. It's for my grandkids, my kids, and I'll never regret that decision.
Well, you're on the right side of history. I think that's going to be proven as we continue to advance in years here. But this is something, if memory serves me correctly, I've heard you speak a few times, this is not something that's new to you. Your journey with more of natural medicine, you were injured pretty early on in your basketball career. And if I remember correctly, it was a naturopath that really helped you get back onto the court.
It's actually a chiropractor.
Okay.
Okay, that story is repeated 100 times over the course of my career. There's a medical format to how you heal an ankle sprain. I had a back sprain, fairly severe, in a playoff game. Simply using the chiropractor and the biomechanics expertise, I couldn't duplicate the pain and went and played the game. We ended up winning the series. I've had several issues where I've taken anti-inflammatories for over a year, only to have them fixed in 5 minutes on a table by somebody who knows how the body functions, where the proper timing of muscles engaging, how it engages with the other parts of your body, organs and acupuncture meridians, things like that. If we had more time, I'd go in greater depth, but bottom line is it works, and it works over and over and over again, which by definition makes it scientific.
So when these doctors, these experts were saying medical quacks, you were like, no, I've been through that. It actually works.
I have, yeah. And then you mentioned naturopaths too. Listen, I think anybody that's they don't make a ton of money at this. Pharmaceutical things make big bucks, and they go through the multiplier. But a person that's out there studying your body, treating each individual as an individual, there's benefits there. And even if it isn't the answer, it's not harming you in the process. If, for example, if you have surgery that's unnecessary, you can't unring that bell. It may have been unnecessary, but now you have additional damage you have to deal with. Doesn't happen with the chiropractic, naturopathic, acupuncture guys in the world.
Absolutely.
Seems like oftentimes moms pick up, or at least for me, my wife picks up on these things a little bit quicker than I do. What would you say to a young dad? Because I mean, I know my wife and I got in a lot of fights over vaccines. We got in a lot of fights over these more natural path kinds of things. What would you speak to the young dads if maybe one spouse is picking it up on more natural ways quicker and?
Yeah, that's a tough question. It's hard to answer because you know how relationships are. Your relationship with your wife is going to be different than mine, and I think us guys tend to go, oh, whatever, I don't want to have to think about it, so whatever you say, honey. And I just think that's the wrong approach. Now, you have more conflicts. You have more little snippy arguments across the kitchen table. However, you come to a little bit of a consensus with your spouse and your children, if you're fortunate to have children, get to sit around and listen to that. Listen to the conflict, listen to the resolution, and understand that we're going to think this through, folks. There's not an automatic answer that we're just going to buy. So I think there's a lot of pluses for men and also women to speak up when they get the opportunity with their spouses. That's good.
You just laid out a great plan there, by the way. That was succinct. I loved it. Yeah, that's great.
Well, and I think it's very acceptable within any relationship to call a timeout and to say, hey, let's examine this. Let's study. There's a lot of experts. I can send you some articles. And ultimately, I mean, I think you probably agree with me, none of the people who didn't get the vaccine regret that. But there's a lot of regret on the other end.
Yeah, and I get it. It was scary. It was scary.
Right.
And if you were obese, double scary. If you had pre-existing conditions, which to me is not even pre-existing condition, it means you're on other medications, which have contraindication for each one of those. And so, if you suddenly take something new and you've got all these contraindications, you're at greater risk. So, losing my train of thought just a little bit there, but in fact, entirely. So you're going to have to come back to me with the question if you can remember.
Well, I was just saying that nobody that got or didn't get the vaccine regrets it, but there's plenty of regret on the other side of the table there.
And that's, you feel good about that. And I regret that I feel bad for people. Every day they get a heart murmur, or if they get a little numbness in their hands, they're going to go, wow, is this the spike protein finally coming to get me? Is this what everybody's been telling me about? Listen, I think vaccine injuries happen when we're little. We don't know them. You may not experience the answer to them for 15, 20 years. They've never been tested more than 4 or 5 days. Lame tests to begin with. No placebo, right? No placebo. They'll use another vaccine to test it against so that the damage is equal on both parties. So it's really a racket. I'm glad people are discovering that. But I know if I had taken those shots, I'd be worried every day about when it's coming.
Oh, I mean, I would too. It's wonderful to see that there are some procedures, some naturopathic ways that we're able to fight some of these spike proteins. And then one of the things, and I'll pass it over to Brian here, and you guys can kind of double team this, but one of the things that I always push on this show is that that relationship with Jesus Christ, because there's a lot of fear in this world, and we're all on a journey to death, but it's ultimately where you end up in the end that's important.
That's exactly right. Just to let our listeners know, one of our first disputes as a couple was vaccines, and then we had a disabled child who's wheelchair bound, and God protected us because we did not vaccinate her, and so there was just a protection there just so that we knew that wasn't there. And so we're not talking out of something we don't know. We've all experienced this life, and I love how you said have that robust dialogue, work through that, look at the information and begin to move forward. I would say that's a lot, even with your sports, right? It takes a lot of energy to get good at something, and we need to be good in our relationships with Christ and with each other and with those around us. So thank you for being on here today.
It's been my pleasure. It's neat that you guys are coming to things like this. Well, we just heard a great presentation by Dr. McCullough, and he talked about how he mentioned God in it at the end. He goes, we have to have some reliance there. We have to rely on what God gave us, the gifts God gave us, natural things that God gave us, bromelain, curcumin. Some of these things are the answer and not medicine. And to hear that from such a quality and prestigious physician is amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing.
So I believe you started a podcast. How do people follow your work?
Ken Rutgers, Green Bay Packer great. football player and I, we're doing a podcast called The Ultimate Assist. It used to be called Voices for Medical Freedom, but now we have two producers, and it's quite a bit more professional than when Ken and I were just doing it out of our little offices. So we're excited about it. We get to meet, we've had Dr. McCullough on, we've had probably 5 or 6 people we've seen in the room tonight on. It's been such an opportunity to meet great people that use their heads. You hear their perspectives, share them with people that don't get to hear it on the news.
Right.
They don't get to read it in the newspaper. And if that helps the overall picture, helps people make the same steps I started making 35 years ago, then I think we've done something good. So it's been very worthwhile and exciting.
That's awesome.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate your time. And audience, please give his show a listen as well. Say it one more time, the name of it?
The Ultimate Assist at ultimateassist.com.
There we go, ultimateassist.com. Thank you, sir, for your time. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us once again, ladies and gentlemen. We are continuing our coverage of the Medical Freedom Northwest event here in Spokane, Washington. I'm joined by Jen Dillon, and we're going to be talking about homeopathic spike detox. This is a very important issue post-COVID. A lot of people have some concerns. A lot of people are having some ill effects, side effects from the vaccine, and there is some solutions there.
Yes, there is, and we're really excited to share them with everyone. There's some new research that's actually being done on a homeopathic protocol, and the clinical trial is being independently done by a Dr. Alan Bain. He's an internal medicine specialist out of the Chicago area, and he is using a new S1 immune subset blood test based on the work of a Dr. Patterson, and this is a test based on the white blood cell, and he is indicating that his research is demonstrating that after 8 weeks, this homeopathic detox is pulling the spike protein out of the monocyte, the white blood cell, which is very encouraging. We're very excited to share it.
This is, so incredibly important. Obviously, anybody paying attention to the headlines, we're seeing, all these individuals that are falling out, myocarditis, strokes, blood clots. And to be able to rid the body of these spike proteins, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but is this going to be a cure for a lot of these issues that we're facing?
So I wish Dr. Bain were here to actually answer that, because he is the one heading up the research. But Dr. Bain has been doing several studies in this area, and he is recommending this homeopathic spike detox now to the asymptomatic as a preventative. He has come out and he has actually said that this is showing promising results, but he recommends this protocol once or twice a year because he believes people are getting reinfected with whatever you want to call the COVID virus, whether it's through shedding, whether it's through being exposed. He would not state that it's going to permanently remove the spike protein. He believes that this is a safe, effective, and non-costly way to remove the spike from.
And ladies and gentlemen, we have run out of time for the National Religious Broadcasters Television Network. This interview will continue, but you'll have to go on over to churchandstate.media to finish it. I would highly encourage it because this is important to this issue. I know we loaded it up front with Robbie Raw and John Stockton, but we want to talk about solutions as well. And we're offering this at the end of the episode. Are you aware that the Holy Word of God tells us to eat beef? Romans 14:2 says, one person's faith allows them to eat anything, but another whose faith is weak eats only vegetables. Look, it may sound kind of foreign, the idea of meat being an investment, but as you go to the grocery store, you can see that everything is increased. This is including beef. So buy something that's got a 10 to 15 year shelf life and make sure that your family is okay, and that when there's a crisis, that you're not in the bread line waiting on the government asking, please, sir, may I have some more? Have you read the ingredients in the meats that are now in the grocery stores these days? There's all sorts of synthetic products in it. We got mRNA, they've got vaccine technology in it. Not for me. I don't want to eat that garbage. I know that I can trust the people at griddownchowdown.com because it is one ingredient, and that one ingredient is beef. The process is so simple. All you do is go down to your basement or your bunker if you're so lucky, grab the vacuum sealed package, go upstairs to your kitchen, open it up, add a little bit of water, wait a little bit, and boom, it's rehydrated, and you can make anything you want. Tacos, lasagna,
hamburgers, whatever you'd like with the beef, your family is going to be happy and you're going to be well fed. I need you all to go to griddownchowdown.com and put in an order for this storable beef. They got lots of different options for you. Buy the $750 one and you're going to be set for a year's time. Remember, griddownchowdown.com, promo code Church and State.
And we are back. Thank you for staying with us. You're over at churchandstate.media, so I'm going to take the time to push our website. Yeah, that's right. And some of our great affiliates. And since we are talking about health freedom, I want to talk about the RNC store because I believe that you really need to take a hold, ladies and gentlemen, of your own health care and to really look for some alternatives in regards to big pharma and big med, because they so oftentimes will just push a pill that has all sorts of ill side effects. And so I'm proud to partner with the RNC store, in particular in dealing with that scary word, the C word. And so these guys are doing some incredible things with Laetrile. I highly recommend that you peruse through their site. Make sure in any purchase orders that you use the promo code Church and State. And of course, you'll be helping to support us. Also, please do hit that donate button because, once again, it costs a lot of money doing what we're doing, and we need your help, your partnership. If you believe in this ministry and all of the different subjects that we're tackling really constantly, because this show is, I don't want to boast too much about my show, but honestly, this show, you never know what you're going to get here. I mean, we're talking theology, we're talking health, we're talking politics. We're bringing a lot of the subject matter experts to you, and it does cost money for us to be able to do that. So if you could see fit to come on board as a monthly supporter, we do support that. From there, I'm going to go ahead and bring us back into the second episode of the Medical Freedom Northwest event. Remember, you can also go back to our website or Rumble or whatever and watch the first episode as well. But for now, let's go ahead and continue our interview with Jen Dillon.
The white blood cell from his research based on what he's finding.
So as a novice at these things, like I'm kind of like the pastor guy, right? So like all the words you just said, I'm like, I don't know, but listen. So let's break it down just a little bit. So
okay.
Make it so we say homeopathic, so natural. I'm assuming is that.
So this is a homeopathic detox protocol. The carrier for the homeopathic, if you're not familiar with homeopathy, there's different carriers, and the basis of homeopathy is like treating like. This particular protocol is taken one dose, which is 4 little sucrose pellets every 7 days.
Okay.
And it's a systems protocol, and it's designed to reset the body to trigger a response, and then the body kicks in and does what God created it to do.
That's awesome.
It heals itself.
Isn't that great?
It's wonderful. And homeopathy has actually been around for centuries. It was discovered and labeled homeopathy by a German scientist in the early 1900s. But, the concept of homeopathy has been around even prior to that. And God designed us very intelligently and perfectly. And every cell in our body holds energy or frequency. Homeopathy is energetic. And, I have to say, homeopathy is designed to really just trigger that body back to what God created it to do.
That's one thing I've learned through this thing today is like there's so many natural things out there, or things from the earth, or from like ivermectin or those kind of things that are just natural solutions to what we face physically. And so it sounds like when you're saying this, so this is what I'm hearing as a layperson, right? So I don't know, but it sounds like you're saying like, hey, when we get infected with these different types of spike proteins from the virus, that these are just some ways that we can heal ourselves because God created it to do that.
Exactly. And if you think about it, we're exposed to so many things. So our energy and our cells, or what I call frequencies, get disrupted, or disrupted frequencies. So the concept of homeopathy is triggering a response to get those disrupted frequencies back in alignment to perform.
This is all brand new to me. So
it's almost like, Brian, like God who stands outside of time saw what was going to happen here in 2020, and he's like, I'm going to have some trees, some fruits, some flowers that are going to be effective treatments for this.
Wow.
It almost seems like that to me.
I know in Genesis chapter 1, it talks about eating the nuts of the land, or the vegetation of the land, and it's interesting how those kind of things. We interviewed someone a while back who was mentioning that, and I went back, is that really in the Bible? And I went back and like, sure enough, there it is. It was amazing. So that's great.
Well, so how do people? I mean, I know there's going to be a lot of interest in this because I know there's a lot of people that are very concerned with what occurred during the pandemic. How do people find you?
Okay, so if people are injured and they're currently suffering, vaccine injured, have an underlying disease, underlying condition, I would encourage them to work with a practitioner, and there is still independent clinical research being done on this, so they could reach out to Dr. Bain directly at docintheloop.com. And Dr. Bain's licensed in over 15 states, and they could get enrolled in the clinical trial. They can get tested with the new S1 blood test based on the white blood cell to get tested for the spike protein, and then be put in the clinical trial with the homeopathic spike detox. For asymptomatic or people that just haven't felt the same since they had COVID, they can go to Yafay, YAFAY, life.com, and they can get the homeopathic spike protein. And that website also has research, and it has published studies and all kinds of information, so people can learn more about where we're at with this whole COVID virus since it started.
Okay, and Dr. Bain, is that what you said?
Dr. Alan Bain.
Okay.
He's an internal medicine specialist out of the Chicago area.
And to the audience, I'm just going to let you know, we're already talking. We're going to do a joint interview with you and Dr. Bain. We're planning on that. That'll be in the future here, because we want to dive into this a whole lot more and explain this, because we want to be a solutions program. We don't just want to bring the issues, the problems that we're facing culturally or within society. We want to actually provide solutions, and we're looking forward to having you back on.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
Thanks again.
And there we go, ladies and gentlemen, part 2 of our Medical Freedom Northwest event. Now, you're going to want to stay tuned, because our very next episode is going to be part 3, and we may have saved the best for last. I don't know. But we're going to be joined by Sean and Janet Needham. They are the people who put on this event for, I believe, 3 years running now, as well as Dr. Peter McCullough, and his interview is absolutely phenomenal. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, we'll see you on the next episode. Church and State is sponsored in part by Colonial Life Spokane Independent Agents and Finders Insurance. I'm Caleb Collier. I was born for a storm.
Welcome to the fire.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want all of you to be a walking billboard. Some of us don't have platforms such as Church and State, but you know what? We can wear t-shirts and engage in great conversations with Christians and patriots all across the country. Stand Up Now Apparel is the best t-shirts out there. These are American-made, owned by a Christian and a patriot, and the material, it's like getting a warm hug from yours truly. One of the better things as well is there's no tags. I hate tags. I know you do as well. I don't know how many times I've cut off a tag and ended up with a hole in my shirt. You never have to worry about that with Stand Up Now Apparel. These are the best shirts out there with the greatest messages. Let me give you a few examples. There's a t-shirt out there that says Armed with Ephesians 6 on it. I gotta tell you, when I wear this in town, I get a lot of comments and a lot of eyebrow raises. There's other shirts that include pure blood in Hebrew, obviously in reference to the vaccines, and also you can get Church and State merch there as well. We've got our flagship shirt, I Was Born for a Storm, with Church and State right on it. You got to order this shirt. Go to Stand Up Now Apparel for t-shirts and hats, all of this great merch with great Christian and patriotic messages. Remember to use that promo code Church and State. Unless you're an alien or you've been living under a rock for the last few years, you know that the price of doing business everywhere is going up. Bread, milk, eggs. Have you gone to the gas station lately? Look, inflation is increasing and it's hurting you. The only way that you're going to remain secure in your financial dealings is to go with gold and silver. Now, I know the idea of buying precious metals can be a little bit scary for the average citizen. But Beverly Hills Precious Metals does such a clear and concise job of walking you through the entire process. It's very simple. I've done this myself. I've moved some of my retirement accounts into gold and silver, and I know for myself that it has allowed me to sleep better at night, knowing that I have my money in something that is tangible and that has always retained value. I need you all to go to bh-pm.com. Use that promo code Church and State. Just fill out the form that they have there. It's really easy. Name, number, email, and what you're looking to do. Remember to use that promo code Church and State. It's impossible not to hear about MyPillow these days if you listen to any conservative talk radio. One of the best ways that you can continue to support our program is through MyPillow. There's so many great products out there that you can purchase. They make good gifts, whether it be for Christmas or birthdays or even an anniversary. Remember, at MyPillow, this is the products that make all your wildest dreams come true. There's a lot that goes into keeping this production up and going. There's costs as far as booking guests, going to events, keeping us on the Christian radio networks. These are all ways that you can help support us by going to mypillow.com. Just go to mypillow.com and use that promo code Church and State. Happy shopping.